Okay, so kita start session kita. Okay, dah record ni. Okay, dah record. So, kita start. Okay, so Kakak nama Kak Syakira. So, you can call me Miss Sharp. You can call me Kak Sharp. You can call me Miss. Up to you. So, this is about the theory and principle programming within robot. I don't know about you guys, but akak masa sekolah ada join lah programming punya bukan subjek lah, sebab waktu tu tak ada programming punya subjek. So akak belajar programming melalui kelab robotik. So masa tu tak macam waktu korang lah, zaman korang sekarang dah ada basic computer science punya subjek kan. Dulu tak ada, and akak belajar programming, start belajar programming waktu join robotik. So the first thing yang akak belajar programming menggunakan robot. Masa tu guna Lego Mindstorm lah. I don't know if you guys heard of Lego Mindstorm before, but that was really famous in school. Okay, so first off, I want to start with the turn command, which is an instruction from user to computer program to do and complete a given task. Suppose benda ni kamu dah belajar dalam, belum belajar lah, tapi akan belajar dalam chapter 4 asas computer science. So, command ni benda penting untuk komputer tu berjalan. Untuk ada task apa semua dalam komputer tu, user yang kena bagi command pada komputer. Kalau tak ada user, komputer tu tak berguna. Macam tu. So, that is command. And then another one is programs. Programs are instructions created by programmer or software developer through programming languages. So, dalam programs ni, in order to write programs, kena ada programmer lah. But kita as a beginner pun boleh jadi programmer. So like we begin to learn how to program. And the programs have a lot of programming languages. So itu semua kena faham lah. Commands tadi dengan programs. Commands tadi bezanya user dia bagi command pada komputer. Dia nak bagi command kat komputer program tu. Okay, so contoh dia kata dia nak komputer tu bagi email, hantar email kepada seseorang ke apa kan. So benda macam tu kena ada set of programs. So in order to make a command, you need to have a set of programs yang melalui programming languages. Sebab contoh kita nak command seseorang yang bukan Melayu lah, maybe contoh orang tu orang Sepanyol. So kalau orang Sepanyol tu, contoh kita kata orang Sepanyol tu, tolong alihkan kereta ke tempat lain, boleh. Macam tu kan, dia takkan faham sebab dia tak cakap bahasa Melayu. So macam tu lah, maksudnya in order to command someone, kena tahu programs, kena tahu ada set of programs yang betul, programming language yang betul. Sama juga macam kita dengan orang kan, ada language juga. Kalau kita tak faham language orang tu, kita tak dapat lah nak command orang tu. Itu beza command sama programs. The part about programming languages. So these are all the programming languages that I talked about. So previously I talked about programs, right? So these are all the programming languages available. Actually ada banyak lagi. Ini antaranya. So yang korang akan belajar dalam asas computer science nanti, HTML5. So this one. You can see on your right here, HTML. So this will be the programming language that you will learn during your form 1. Tapi akak akan ajar visual programming language, which is not this. Visual programming language is this. So ada apa? Scratch. I think you've heard of Scratch before, sebab benda ni memang kena satu akan belajar dulu before belajar HTML. So before you learn programming language, HTML, you will learn a visual programming language called Scratch. So this is one of the visual programming language. There's a lot of others, such as Mindstorm, VB3, ada Blockly, ada Scratch. So these are all visual programming languages. But all these are intertwined and they are made from JavaScript. So the previous programming language that I talked about, JavaScript, when you see Python and all that here, See, so this JavaScript here is a part of all these visual programming languages. Okay, so the steps for program development. First off, you need to know about this, okay? Because even your school will also teach you about this. The first is problem analysis. You need to analyze the problem that you face, find the requirement, and then you must write down what are the solutions to that problems. So you need to design the program, and then in the program design, sebenarnya actually all these are actually in Malay in your book, but I wanted to show it in English because kenapa tahu? Sebab bahasa Melayu tak digunakan dalam universiti. Sebenarnya digunakan cuma when you code when you go to the coding phase, you will not code using Malay. You need to code using English. So that's why agak ajar semuanya dalam bahasa Inggeris. Tapi cakap juga dalam bahasa Melayu. Lepas tu, contoh dalam buku kamu lah kan, kau tengok yang problem analysis tu, dia macam salah. Program design, dia bentuk atas cara, coding, pengokodan. Tapi yang bahagian ni, testing and debugging, is very complicated for me to say. Pengujian dan penjahatan. Memang susah sangat sebut benda ni tu. Jadi belik-belik lidah tau. Jadi, seeloknya, aku ajar dalam bahasa Inggeris lah. Dan senang mudah untuk kau nanti bila dah masuk universiti. Okay, so problem analysis, program design, coding, testing, debugging, documentation. Okay, so dalam program, I will show you step by step what are all these about, but you need to remember all these steps. So nanti ada kahut, nanti ada quiz, so I hope you guys can answer the quiz based on my slides. And then, okay, so we start off with problem analysis. Okay, so problem analysis, the example is, okay, in terms of the humanoid robot, an example, we need to allow the humanoid robot to move forward indefinitely. Indefinitely ni maksudnya berterusan. And the robot will stop only when it detects the color red. So this is like the problem analysis. You want it to do this kind of command. So how you want to make the robot the task is completed, how you want to make it completed based on this command, we need to code. So this is just a problem analysis. We want to allow it to move. And then in terms of the program design, so second program design, you need to use the pseudocode. What is a pseudocode? It's an informal language that helps programmers develop algorithms. Algorithms is a set of rules. So this is an example of pseudocode for this particular problem. So you need to press start, write down start, and then you write down repeat, because why? It says here indefinitely. Indefinitely means berterusan. Bila dia berterusan, maksudnya dia akan berulang-ulang. Okay, so we write down repeat, and then do move forward. So the action, apa yang dibuat, the statement, do, and then move forward, and then until it detects red. So until it detects the color red, baru di stop kan? Stop only when it detects the color red. So stop, move forward. So it will move forward, detects red, and then it will stop. Okay. So third step, which is coding. So the first one was problem analysis, second was program design, the third one is coding. So in order to code, we need to use a textual programming language. Okay, so for instance, like the HTML that I talked about, which you will learn in your studies in SS Computer Science. So itu kamu akan belajar dalam tu. But in terms of going into textual programming language, for beginners who are really currently cannot understand the basic of programming concepts, I suggest you use visual programming language. So you will use visual programming language when you program the robot, but it can actually be extracted to the textual programming language. So for example, a blockly, this is the type of visual programming language. You can extract it to JavaScript. So this is the answer based on the first question. which is to allow the humanoid robot to move forward indefinitely, stop someone when it detects break. So it will repeat while it is while the while it is true. It do the move forward, so it will move forward and then it will wait for the color red. Once it detects the color red, it will stop. So all this will be repeated. Okay, so this is the part in JavaScript. In JavaScript, it's also the same, but it's in textual form. So this is actually the actual form of programming that you will learn in university. But as a student, I highly suggest you to learn in visual programming language, and you will also actually learn in school as well. So this is like cara untuk orang senang faham lah. Dan lepas dah belajar betul-betul nanti senang kamu faham sebab dah belajar dah. Okay, so number 8 to JavaScript. Alright, so we'll move on to like a subtopic in coding. So in coding, there's coding syntax. Syntax is a set of rules for grammar and spelling. So in other words, it means using character structures that a computer can interpret. Because for example, if a user tries to execute a command without proper syntax, it generates a syntax error, usually causing the program to fail. So an example of syntax for programming is the one below. But before I give this kind of example, a really simple example is like the syntax in your language, in your English language. So for instance, like you want to tell someone to eat before going to school or something like that. So like you have to ensure that your grammar is correct, your spelling is correct, in order for the person to understand. Of course, the person might not be understand fully because maybe they not well versed in English. They are well versed in English, so they can understand what the other person is talking about. But the best way to tell someone is to the correct syntax. For example, if you say to your friend, you go to school but don't eat. But you know, like it's not really a perfect way to tell someone that you need to eat before going to school. So the right way is like you need to eat before going to school. Well, you don't eat, that's not really like the correct way. So okay, maybe people misunderstand someone command or what they say because of the wrong syntax and wrong spelling. For instance, like if you spell something wrongly, it might mean it might mean something else. Okay, so this is an example for coding syntax in JavaScript. We must always put a semicolon at the end of a statement. So for instance, movement dot forward, and then you put the brackets, open and close brackets, and then you need to put the semicolon. But if you write it down the same way like above, but without the semicolon, the program will not run. So it's very important for you to make sure that your syntax in coding is correct, because even one mistake, you can actually get an error. You cannot run your program because of the mistake, because of that one semicolon. Okay, so that is on coding syntax. Okay, so here's on the 5 basic programming elements, which are input, output, arithmetic, conditional, and looping. So in terms of input, it means you get data and comments into the computer. You input something in the computer, but the output is when the computer gives you the results. Okay, and then arithmetic, it is actually related to mathematics, but it is the simplest form of mathematics. So arithmetic is basically your plus, minus, times, and division. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So all that is arithmetic. And then conditional, to test and see if a condition is true or false. Usually in programming, we use either 1 or 0 to indicate true or false. Alright, so the last one is looping. You cycle through a set of instructions until some condition is met. So basically, you repeat a certain statement, a certain action, until something occurs, and then you will stop or something else, something like that. So that is called looping, repetition. Okay, so looping is basically repetition. So the input and output is the terminology referring to the communication between a computer program and the user. So input is the user giving something to the program or the computer, and then the output is the program giving something to the user. So an example, the simplest example is a vending machine. So in order to buy something at the vending machine, kalau kamu nak beli macam Coca-Cola ke apa air Coke tu kan, kamu mesti masukkan duit dulu kan. So the action of you putting the money inside the machine is an input. Okay, itu input kamu. And then the output is when the water falls down from the vending machine, and then you can take it. So basically itu output daripada vending machine tu. Sebab kamu dah masukkan duit, baru dia boleh keluarkan air yang kamu nak tu. So itu paling simple lah. Okay, so the arithmetic I already talked about it. Simply addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, conditional, true or false. So in terms of another way to show condition is using if and else. So for instance, like a very simple way of saying in English is like, if you win first place, you get a trophy, but else you get a medal. So else is like, if you don't get the trophy, if you don't win first place, then you get the medal only. So it's just like simple way for you to understand conditional. Then looping. So looping is like I said, repetition. So there's while, do while, and for. These are the basic and easiest form of looping. Very common in programming languages. So for while at the gym, I work out, for instance. This is just a very simple way for you to understand each and every one, each of these loops. So while at the gym, I work out. While you are at the gym, you work out. That means you need to go to the gym in order to work out. That is for while. Because if you don't go to the gym, you cannot work out because you are not at the gym. So yeah, like that. But for do while, you work out. I work out while at the gym. That means you work out, but work out while at your at the gym. If you're not at the gym, contoh kalau kamu dekat tempat lain kat rumah pun, kamu tu tak workout. Sebab dia do workout dulu baru while at the gym. Kalau while ni dia kena prioritize yang awal. Maksudnya dia kena prioritize yang gym ni dulu. Kalau dia tak ada dekat gym, dia takkan workout selagi dia tak ada kat situ. Itu beza. So for while it will be the condition first. You need to prioritize the gym before you need to do something. But for do while is you do something first, and then you take consider the other thing, the condition. For this one is for instance, you want to say you want to work out for 3 hours at the gym. Okay, so that is using for. I work out for 3 hours at the gym. Because for while and do while, they don't have like a way for them to say like this is the exact timing that I want. Okay, so for is very important in terms of timing. Okay, and then testing and debugging. So this is the part of the problem development. So after coding, you need to test your code, run your program to see if the task execution works correctly, and then debug. Identify and remove the errors that occur. So after testing, you need to debug. You need to see any errors, and then you need to fix those errors. Okay, these steps for program development. The first one, problem analysis. Second, program design. The third one is coding. Fourth is testing and debugging, and the last one is documentation. Okay, I only focused on the 4 parts because the documentation part is basically like the compilation of all these 4 other parts, and then you need to write it all down in a report. So that is documentation. So let's keep on to the JD, which is a humanoid robot. Okay, so JD ni robot daripada Canada tau. Dia direka oleh Canadian, but we can make our own programs on the robot. So this robot is very unique because it's basically a human-like locomotion. So that's why it's called a humanoid robot, because the movements are all like humans movements. Okay, so this is the task that I want to give you. So you need to complete the task given below. The robot waves its arms when it detects a face in front of it, and then the robot moves forward 10 steps and says hello. I will I want you to see the coding part. I will send like 3 codings for each of these tasks, and then you need to pick which one is correct. Okay?